Hello everyone. Today's topic is operating system. So software. We have already discussed software and its types in detail in our previous classes. Today I will tell you about two main types of softwares. One is system software and the other is application software. System software is a software which is used to operate the computer or system. So operating system is a type of system software, whereas application software is a software which is used to perform a particular task, like MS Office, Chrome are the examples of application software. Now this is the block diagram of operating system, which is showing you user, then application, operating system and hardware. Basically this means if the user want to use anything that is hardware or application software, then it has to be gone through operating system. Without operating system we cannot use any hardware, we cannot use any application software. Operating system. An operating system is the most important system software. Basically it is the most important software of a computer. We cannot do anything without operating system on the computer. We cannot operate any hardware, we cannot operate any other software without operating system. What happens whenever we switch on the computer, the operating system is the first program that is loaded onto the main memory from the secondary memory. When it is loaded onto the main memory and its instructions get executed, then the screen which you see on the computer is the first screen of your operating system. Basically software is a set of programs, and this set of program, which is operating system, is used to control and supervise the hardware of the computer as well as the application softwares of the computer. Without computer, again I am telling you that we cannot do anything on the computer. Basically operating system is the interface between the user and the computer's hardware or the software. Interface means it is used to interact with the computer. If you want to take out any printout, you have to give the command to the operating system, then the operating system will give the command to the printer to take out the printout. And if you want to use MS Word, then you have to tell operating system that you want to use MS Word or to open MS Word. Your command will directly be given to the operating system, and further operating system will give command to the application software, which we can say Microsoft Office. So basically operating system is an interface between two things. One is the user and the other is the computer hardware or computer other softwares. If I give you some real life example, suppose you have a friend who knows Spanish and you know English. You don't know Spanish and your friend doesn't know English. So if you want to communicate with your friend, or if you need any favor from your friend, you need a translator. Translator will act as an interface. You will communicate in English. That translator will translate it into Spanish and will tell your friend, right? And your friend will again communicate in Spanish. Translator will understand it and translate it into English and will tell you. If you want your friend to pick up some book, to do anything for you, say to pick up a book, then you need to tell to the translator, and the translator will tell your friend to pick up the book in Spanish, and your friend will do your work, right? So translator is basically the interface which is helping you to communicate with your Spanish friend. So basically same interface is the operating system for computers. Whenever we give any command to the computer, then the computer will translate into its own language and will tell the computer or hardware or any other software to do that work. Whenever that work will be done, it will tell the operating system that the work has been done, and then operating system will give you the feedback that your work has been done. So I guess it is clear now. Now as we know what is operating system, so what is the need of an operating system? The need of operating system, because without operating system our computer is just a box which works with electricity. but it cannot do anything without operating system. When we install operating system on a computer, then it gives us access to other softwares, other application softwares, or the resources like memory, monitor, keyboard, printer. If there is no operating system, you press any key of your keyboard or your mouse, it will not give you any result. Whenever you will you will be having an operating system in your computer and you give any command to it to access any hardware or any software, it will do it for you. So now functions of an operating system, which means what are the different jobs of an operating system, or what are the different works to be performed by the operating system. There are n number of jobs and number of work to be performed by the operating system. There are some main functions of the operating system that we will discuss. Number one is process management. For that, we need to know what is a process. A process is job in execution or a command in execution. Whenever you want to perform any work, you give the command to the computer. It is accepted by the operating system, and that command is basically a process for the operating system, to which a CPU will be allotted, and CPU will process that command. So what happens when in the era where we want to perform multiple tasks on the computer, what happens now, we give one command, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and CPU is busy in performing or processing one job. So how those jobs, how those processes are managed, how the priorities of those processes are set, how do the operating system know which process has to be allotted first to the operating system, when it is being done, then which process has to be allotted next to the operating system. Now this is basically a management, a work which is done by the computer system, and it is a kind of very important work which is called process management, which manages the processes which are in the computer or commands in the computer to be executed. So next is device management. Now device are basically the hardware attached device to the computer, like a printer, keyboard, monitor, joystick, or any other hardware. If you install any hardware to your computer, it is being operated and managed by operating system. Third is our memory management, and we all know in a computer we have two different types of memory. One is secondary memory and the second is main memory. Now secondary memory is responsible for storage of programs and main memory is responsible for execution of programs. Now whenever you need to store any program, you use that secondary memory, and if you want to execute any program, then that program has to be loaded onto the main memory till it is executed. So whenever it is loaded onto the main memory, it occupies some space for its execution. Whatever space it needs, it occupies that space onto the main memory, and then whenever the execution is fully completed, the space occupied has to be freed so that it is available for any other program for execution, right? So when we transfer any program from secondary memory to main memory or main memory to secondary memory, it is called mapping. Mapping means transferring from one place to another place. So there is a huge thing to be done to transfer program from one memory to another memory, to occupy space and then free that space, to keep a record of that space which is free, which is occupied, which will be freed in some time, next program to be executed. So it is a huge task which is performed by operating system, and that task is called memory management, to manage both the memories, which is secondary memory and your main memory. Fourth is file management. Now operating system manages your files, folders and directories on your computer. Now what happens whenever you want to open any file, what you do is you go to my computer, then you open any drive like D or E drive, and then you go to any folder, open the folder, and in which you have another folder, and in which you have different types of file, be it word file, be it your image file, be it any video. Now those are the different types of files in a folder you have made. Now what happens that that your file is lying on my computer, and then D, and then some folder, and then some other folder, and then you get to access your file. Now this is basically the path about the file, but for the computer the path is different, and your file have some size, some name, some type. So these are basically the different attributes of the file. Now whenever you save any file on your computer, the path you decide for the file is not the same path saved by the operating system for that file. Every file have a unique address, unique name, type of the computer. So these address, name, type, size are the attributes of the file. So whenever you store any file, a different file allocation table is created for that file, which will contain all the information of that file, or we can say which will contain all the information of different attributes of the file. Now we will talk about different types of operating system. Again, there are many types of operating system, but we will talk about few here. So very first is single user and single task operating system. Single user, single task operating system means that only one user will work on the computer, and the user will perform only one task at a time. So one user and one task at a time. When the task will be completed, then only the user will be able to perform the next task. And the example is a very famous operating system, which was the first operating system we know, which is MS-DOS. MS is the Microsoft, which is the company created. DOS, which is disk operating system. It was a command based operating system in which we have to learn the commands and give the command to the computer one at a time. Multiprocessing operating system. This operating system have two or more processors for a single running process, and processing takes place in parallel, so it is also called parallel processing. Now what happens, suppose if you have 4 jobs and each job will be executed in 10 seconds, means 10 seconds are required by the CPU or the processor to complete a single job, and we have 4 jobs of taking similar time, which is 10 seconds. If we have one processor and a processor has to execute all the 4 jobs, right, then the processor will take 40 seconds, because there are 4 jobs and each job will take 10 seconds. Now if we have 4 processors and again 4 jobs and each job will take 10 seconds, then the jobs will be distributed among the different processors. We have 4 jobs and 4 processors. Now simultaneously those processors will execute all the 4 jobs, and all the 4 jobs will be completed by in 10 seconds, because if each processor was busy in processing one job and will take 10 seconds, so all the 4 jobs will be completed in 10 seconds. So this is what happens in multiprocessing operating system. Multiple processors are there to execute the jobs, and it will take less time, and they are more efficient because more jobs will be executed in less time. Fourth is interactive operating system. Now interactive operating system is an operating system which provides graphical user interface through which the user can easily navigate or interact. Now I want to tell you that there are two types of interfaces. One is command based and the other is graphical user interface. Now command based interface, what happens, which was like MS-DOS. Now in that operating system, the user had to learn and write the command to get the work done. Whereas in graphical user interface, you just navigate, or with the help of mouse, what you do is you click on some graphic and your command is done. Like in command base, if you want to open some folder, you need to change, the command is cd, which is change directory. But if you want to open some folder in graphical user interface, what you will do is just click on the folder and your folder will get opened, right? So this is the difference. So interactive operating systems are the operating systems which gives you an interface which is based on graphics. Like graphics means icons, like my computer or any other icon. Fifth is our real-time operating system. Real-time operating system is one of the most important operating system and commonly used everywhere. One more thing I want to tell you is that your operating system is not only confined to your computers. That means your operating system is not only designed or programmed for computers. Every electronic device which you use at your home or any other place has an operating system. For example, if we talk about electronic appliances at your place, your TV has operating system, then your microwave, washing machine, fridge, every electronic device. Now if I give you a real life example, TV. Your TV is, you have a remote control and you say that I can control the TV with the help of this remote. So what happens when you press 1? The channel gets switched to say Star Plus. When you press 2, the channel gets switched to colors. If you press 3, the channel gets switched to Sony. So how come your TV knows that if you will press 1, then the TV has to show Star Plus, on 2 colors, on 3 Sony? How? Actually it has been programmed, the channels has been programmed according to the number, right? So what happens whenever you type any number on your remote, then the channel gets switched to the programmed number, right? So what happens, basically it is a program which is controlling your remote and your TV. So that program is the operating system of the TV. Now if we talk about real time operating system, what happens in real time means there is a given time to perform a task. If you perform a task in that given time, it is fine, otherwise the task get failed. Now these type of operating system are basically used in robotics, or we can say like chemical experiments. Now what happens that whenever you are doing any chemical experiment or any type of experiment, then the time has been decided for the experiment that in so and so time the outcome should be this. If it gives the outcome, then it is okay. If it doesn't give, your experiment get failed. Now what happens if we talk about little simpler, what happens if you use a microwave and you want to bake a cake. You keep the batter into the microwave and you set some temperature and time, suppose 30 minutes. Now what happens, for the 30 minutes your microwave will work on a certain temperature and it will get off on the given time period, 30 minutes. After 30 minutes it will get switched off. Now you take out your cake. If your cake is baked, then your work is done. If your cake is not baked in the given time, then your work is failed. So this is real time operating system, a kind of operating system in which a time or deadline is fixed that in this time your work has to be done. Suppose rocket launching. whenever the scientists are launching any rocket, they keep it real time, that even in nanoseconds they keep the time record, and in the given time they shoot the rocket, right? So I guess it is clear, real time means the time is fixed or the deadline is given for each and every task to be performed. Now, time sharing operating system. We have already discussed about multitasking operating system. Multitasking means multiple tasks can be executed at the same time. Now, in multitasking, what happens? We keep on giving commands to the computer, and operating system accepts the command. It never says that I am already occupied and I cannot take your commands right now. It never says. It just keep on piling up the commands. Now what happens, CPU can execute, in multitasking, CPU can execute a single command at a time. So CPU will execute a single command, then next, then next, then next. This is how the commands are being executed in the other operating system. Now suppose we have 4 jobs or 4 processes, job 1, 2, 3 and 4. Job 1 will take 20 seconds to execute, job 2 will take 10, then 5, then 1. Again I am telling you 20, 10, 5 and 1. Now while and this is the sequence for the execution. Now CPU will be allocated to the first job which will take 20 seconds. Then after its completion it will go to the second job which will take 10 seconds. Then after its execution it will go to next, then will take 5 seconds, and then then the CPU will be allocated to the job 4. And job 4, if you just see, then job 4 is taking just 1 second to complete, but it has to wait 20 plus 10 plus 5, which is 35 seconds. So which is not a good process management. So to overcome that, a new operating system has been designed, which is time sharing operating system. In this operating system, what happens? A fixed time, a time slot is fixed for the CPU, which means CPU will execute one job for that fixed time. Suppose it is 2 seconds. That each and every job will be executed to the CPU, will be executed by the CPU for 2 seconds. Now if we take the same example, which is job 1, 2, 3, 4, 20 seconds, then 10, then 5, then 1. Then what will happen in case of time sharing operating system? The CPU will be allocated to the job 1 and it will execute for 2 seconds. Then it will switch to the next job which is taking 10 seconds, but again the CPU will be allocated to job 2 for just 2 seconds. Then it will switch to the next process, which is your job 3, and it will again be executed for just 2 seconds, and then the fourth job will be executed, for which the CPU will give 2 seconds, but the job is of 1 second, so it will be completed in 1 second. So if you see in time sharing operating system, the fourth job which was taking the least time to execute will wait for 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 6 seconds. Now in the previous operating system it has to wait for 35 minutes to get executed, and in time sharing it is just waiting for 6 seconds to be executing. Now switching to set a time slot and to switch from one job to another job, it is called a round robin scheduling technique, which is very important in operating system. Again I am telling you, it is round robin scheduling technique, which means that a time slot will be fixed for the CPU. Your CPU will be executing a job for that fixed period, and then it will switch to the next job, right? So this is in this process, or we can say in this time sharing operating system, the jobs doesn't have to wait for so long, and each and every job will get the time of the CPU for a fixed time period. Okay, so let's talk about commonly used operating systems. First is Windows. Windows is a product of Microsoft, and which launched its first operating system in 1985, and with the name of Windows 1.0. It was graphical user interface, and after that Microsoft launched many versions of Windows with the name 95, 98, NT, XP, then Windows 7, 8, 9, and latestly we are using Windows 10. Then we have Linux. Linux is a free and open source software, which means it is freely available to use, and since its source code is also available, so anybody can use it, modify and redistribute it at free of cost. Next is BOSS, Bharat Operating System Solutions. This is an Indian distribution of Linux, which consists of Linux operating system kernel, Office application suite, internet browser like Firefox, multimedia applications, and many more things. Next is Unix. Unix is basically a multitasking, multi-user operating system developed in 1969 at Bell's laboratory, and it was the first operating system developed in high level language with C, which means C language was used to develop this operating system Unix in 1969, as Unix and C language both are developed at Bell laboratory, and it was single user, single tasking operating system and very easy. Yeah, next is Android. If we talk about Android, nowadays it is very common operating system of mobile phones. Android is basically used in mobile phones and it is very common. Next is Mac. Mac operating system is basically used by Apple. Apple is a company which uses this Mac operating system. Now, we can say that it is basically a property of Apple which is being used on Apple mobiles, Apple computers, laptops, everything, right? Okay, next is Symbian. Symbian is again an operating system by Nokia, designed for its smartphones only. So nowadays we use Symbian, we don't use Symbian a lot. Nowadays we use either Android for mobiles or Mac for mobiles and laptop, and only it is a product only on Apple, like Apple products. We can say your Apple laptop, your Apple mobile or tab, whatever it is.